Hey, I'm Antonio Graceffo. We are here today in the National Wrestling Center in Phnom Penh, Cambodia, and I'm with my friends Leun and Makara, and they're helping me learn about real freestyle wrestling. I've never had any real wrestling training. I mean, as far as like freestyle, I've had MMA, a little bit of wrestling in MMA, and then Chinese wrestling in China, which is a little different. This is really my first time ever learning pure wrestling, and I'm really excited about it. Leun's real smart, and he watched a bunch of my fight videos yesterday, and then he would pause it and say, okay, this is where you're having a problem, that's where you're having a problem, and he'd teach me some technique to overcome that problem. And also, I would put him in positions like side control and guillotine and choke and say to him, how do you deal with this? You know, because I want to learn a different perspective, not the same as all the other MMA fighters. This morning we did a lot where they were like kicking me and I'd take them down from the kick, and then when the opponent sprawls and we complete the sprawl. So one of the biggest things that they have, in addition to all the other many good things, is the ability to use their neck and their head to push the guy down.
Bài một tiết, các bài kia chúc độ đầy đấy, có nước ốc ra đi, có thịt miếng, cái.
And so that's something we're going to work on. They taught me some neck exercises. I'm hoping to do those every day and hopefully improve.
ខ្ញុំជាកីឡាករចម្បាប់បុរាណនៅឃុំវាសួរសិក្សាកីឡាកាណាដាពីមុនខ្ញុំធ្លាប់លេងកីឡាចម្បាប់ព្រោះពីវាសួរមានប្រពៃណីចម្បាប់បុរាណតាំងពីយូរលង់មកហើយខ្ញុំឃើញចម្បាប់ខ្ញុំស្រឡាញ់ដល់ខ្ញុំប្រកួតបុរាណនៅតាមស្រុកខាងសហព័ន្ធកីឡាចម្បាប់អន្តរជាតិគាត់ចុះទៅឃើញគាត់ហៅខ្ញុំមកហាត់នៅទីនេះនៅឆ្នាំ2002ខ្ញុំហាត់នៅទីនេះលេខ1រហូតបុរាណបុរាណក៏បុរាណ2002រហូតដល់2012
10 years. He's the reigning champion.
Jesus.
And people on that bike.ประกวดได้หรือ
ដល់2000ឆ្នាំមុនខ្ញុំប្រកួតដែរឈ្នះ
So he's the reigning champion since 2002.
ណា
You know, he's pulling on that shoulder. He's pulling him almost all the way to the ground with his shoulder before he even grabs the head. So you got to squat all the way down, pull him all the way down. His head's almost touching the ground when he grabs the neck. We worked on this technique a lot because we thought it was something that might be helpful for MMA. For example, if I shot too high and I got caught in a guillotine, or just to be able to transition from the clinch, or from the clinch be able to spin around under the arm and take the guys back and take them to the ground. I even got them to throw some punches at me so I could practice ducking under the jab and coming in and taking the guys back. In China, I'm on the traditional wrestling team at Shanghai University of Sport, but I cross-train in Sanda, which is Chinese kickboxing, which allows kicks, punches, and takedowns. So we learn a lot of takedowns, particularly takedowns that involve catching the kick and then taking the opponent down. It was interesting for me to ask Leun how he deals with kicks, or how he would deal with kicks from a wrestling standpoint. So I'm learning slightly different techniques, which is nice, because I'm learning something everyone in China is not learning. In Leun's case, Leun actually has about 15 or 16 professional Bradal-Saray kickboxing fights under his belt, and he has a few professional MMA fights under his belt. I think he's in a better position in many ways to evaluate how best to transition wrestling to other codes of fighting, particularly MMA, and then maybe a little bit of Sanda. And he's actually never seen Sanda, but I just asked him about catching kicks and taking them down, and so they set up these drills for me. One of the questions that came up was whether or not to keep control of the leg after you got on the ground. In a wrestling pin, they often hold on to the leg and use it to help control and help get the pin, basically. In MMA, I wasn't sure if that was a good idea, because if a guy has a high level of jiu-jitsu, trying to hold on to his leg might just be walking right into a trap. So the jury's still out on that one, but it was interesting to see two different takes on the same idea. And Makara?
ខ្ញុំជាកីឡាករច្បាប់នៅភ្នំពេញនេះខ្ញុំចូលហាត់កាលឆ្នាំ2010 4 ដងទៅបានលេខ 2 អត់តលេខ 1
So he was second place 4 times? That's awesome. This technique is if you shoot and the guy sprawls, you can still complete the throw. You just got to keep driving through and then use your head to take him down. At the beginning today, we did a lot of where they kick me and I take them down from the kick because they are trying to help me prepare for MMA. Comparing Khmer wrestlers to international wrestlers.
ហើយប្រៀបធៀបច្បាប់កីឡាករច្បាប់ខ្មែរប្រៀបធៀបកីឡាករច្បាប់ប្រទេសផ្សេងៗជាបឋមខ្ញុំធ្លាប់ទៅប្រកួតខ្ញុំឃើញកីឡាករគេមានឋានៈច្រើនកីឡាគេមានឋានៈពីតូចឡើងទៅធំឲ្យទន់ខ្លួនទៅវិញវាយូរដូចនេះតូចវាថាពីតូចឡើងមកធំវាល្អជាង So he's saying that the main difference he was talking about was that internationally they train the wrestlers from a young age.
Yeah.
Whereas here, especially for freestyle in the city, we often work with older athletes. So it's just now that we've been trying to.
Oh, the youth program is new?
Yeah, it's brand new. It's the first time we've never had a youth training.
Oh, it's the first time?
Yes.
Wow.
They've had youth competitions before. This is the first time they've actually tried.
They trained them first.
At least in the city. Yeah.
But the kids from his village, though, they wrestle. Leun says the young kids start wrestling in the village if they're from a wrestling village. And when they first start out, they just watch the wrestling. Later, if they like it, they'll start training. He said he started training at 12, and then he was eventually invited to the capital to join the Olympic wrestling team. The youth program for the Cambodian wrestling team only began this year with a handful of kids. So up until now, there's only been the national wrestling team, and most of the guys started on the national team when they were later than 12 years old, sometimes 15, 16, 17, even 18 years old when they were first coming to the wrestling team. So Leun and Makara know that this is in great contrast to the West, particularly America, where kids might start wrestling in junior high school.